I will also say, it can be a little disorienting as a comedian because you come out and everyone's clapping, and you haven't done anything. As far as I can tell, you're clapping me for how I walk, yeah. And that's fine, but you got to. I was walking around Melbourne all day, silence, just bombing my ass off. And all of a sudden, I get up here, and everyone's like, "Whoa, fella's got a nice gait." And look, I would hate to spoil the end of the show for anyone, but if you like what I did just then, you're gonna love what I do in about an hour's time. It's gonna send you into rapture. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming along to the show. We're filming it with camera. This is going to be documented on the internet, and that's one of the main places people are now. And and I'm going to be there, and you're going to be part of it too. Even though you're in the room, this is real for us now. But the way that people watch it later, it's going to be worse. So it's our responsibility to create an energy where they're like, oh, this is almost like, it's almost as good as being, because we know what it's like here. It's amazing. This is here. It's incredible here. Have you looked around at who we're with? Wow, what remarkable company we keep. Some of the sexiest motherfuckers I've seen in my life. It's going to be the horniest show I ever done. I tucked it into my belt before I came out here. And I was flaccid, so it was a real wrestle. No, I'm so excited to be performing here. I'm so excited that it's you, Guy, and I'm excited that people have sat in the front row. It's one of the best places you can sit, I think, because, well, you must, if you've come here, you must be aware of my reputation as a bit of a shock jock, a put-down comic. I assume you're here to see my withering insults to anyone in eyeshot. So I'm sorry to report everyone in the front, I've changed my ways. I don't do any put-downs anymore. I don't do any crowd work, okay? So I don't want to hear from you. And that's true in the room, but you've also got to know that's true out in the world. And I just I'll take a moment. I'd like to reassure all of you sitting in the front row that I would never be so rude nor crude to put down anyone kind and generous enough to sit in the front row of one of my shows. You stupid motherfucker! Yeah, so I had to go get their ass. So your ass has been got. But no, it is actually, I am appreciative because, when I was, even as recently as a few years ago, I come over to Australia and I was basically, all I could perform to was always like 40 fellas that look like me, and also their girlfriends. But now, every time I come out, I feel like I'm performing to an assembly of my parents' friends. So just to get in front of the usual questions they'll ask, I also don't know how I remember it all. Yes, I get money for doing it. Thank you. And I agree. I agree. You could not do what I do. But no, look, I am appreciative. I imagine some of you have come out this evening because you want to see me. I don't think that's, too hubristic to assume. Some of you probably come out here because you want to see the show. Now, the bad news is, if you're here to see the show has been written and will be performed by me. And I'm sorry to report, if you're here to see me, I'm more or less, I'm just going to be doing the show. But the good news is the show's in lovely shape. I mean, I've been practicing the show. It is mostly sentences, almost exclusively. But if you really listen, you notice at some points I've strapped them together, paragraphs there and there, And what you'll find with a lot of the sentences is often I'll be starting one and you think this is a fairly ordinary sentence. There's not a lot to hang my head on inside of this sentence. But what I try to do is as we get towards the tail end of the sentence, I do like to subtly make them funny. Not unlike that sentence, just that, And if you like that sentence, we've got some fantastic ones coming down the highway. Really to look forward to, So that's just to let you... So what I'm thinking is let's just get on with it, okay? Because I got to... Oh, shit. I've made one error, but you don't need to worry about it. It's just I time them all. Even when you're filming them, you got to time them. It's for my own records. Now, it's ridiculous that I have to. To start a stopwatch on my watch now, I've got to tap the screen. It's a touch screen. I don't know if you remember. Time was these things. They were just for time telling. You look at your watch, it tell you the time. Well, it wouldn't tell you the time. Didn't have the technology then. But you look at your watch, and if you can conceptualise this, you would read the time. And then you'd say the time out loud. You'd say it's 8:09 p.m., and then you and the watch would be on the same page. vis-a-vis the time. But at some point, they decide that's not enough. We got to put more in. We got to get him smart. So now they reckon they got him smart. Yeah. As smart as a dog. No, because the main thing this fella asked me to do is take him for a walk. But sometimes my watch will vibrate and it will tell me that Rodrigo is ready at the door. And that sounds sinister, but you don't need to worry. That means I've ordered food, okay? And now there is this fella Rodrigo, and you'll never guess where he is. Yeah, he's ready at the door. And, and so I get talking to Rodrigo. And do you know what I've learned? You know the famous Rodrigo we've all been talking about the last while? So it turns out, Rodrigo, who's at the door, he'd not even cooked the food. There's a whole other person cooked the food. Rodrigo's sole responsibility is to relocate the food. And he's not even allowed to have any of the food. It's in his car. Stinging up his car. He's not even allowed to eat. That's not my rule, by the way. That's Rodrigo. And it's not even Rodrigo. That's a different person has done that. But what blows my mind is between my watch and Rodrigo and this mystery chef, I've reduced my own responsibility in my own life to what could only be described as passive, which is it's a cruel irony given I bought the watch to be more active. And I'm not. I imagine a lot of you got the smartwatch as well now. So if you've got a smartwatch, we've all now got the same time. We're all synchronized to the same alpha time. So, and I will, because you used to watch a heist movie, yeah. And you see the characters who are doing the heist, they'd always synchronize their watches. That's gone now. They don't put that in. That is just assumed. And I try to use this information to my advantage because I'm a pretty punctual person. Sometimes I'll be running a little late. So what I do, I change the time on my own watch so I feel more punctual. And also, I think in the back of my head, I'm hoping it might change the time on the watch of the person I met. But that's not happened yet, so it turns out this isn't the main one. But, you can forgive me for thinking it might be. I think, are you sure it's not this one here? Are you sure? Is this one here not GMT, huh? Does GMT not stand for Guy Montgomery? Feels a little more relevant than whatever they got going on in Greenwich. A lot of you people couldn't find Greenwich on a map. I'm right fucking here. You tell me. What's more relevant? And I'll tell you this about time, because I've been working with time my whole life. Well, not my whole life. My parents had me when I was very young. But, as soon as I could figure it out, I've been working with time. I use it to demark the days, the weeks, just basically the whole thing. And there's a funny thing in it, because it doesn't matter how close you've been working with it, and I've always got it right here. I'm always in cahoots with it. You can still lose track of time. And this will often happen when you're having a good time. God forbid, you're having a good time, and you think, whoa, really enjoying myself here. What I do, I might just check it with my old friend the time, and you go like that, and you go, hey, no. That cannot be the time, because if that is the time, I'm fucked. If that is the time, I've got a whole day wrong, And there's only one group of people I've met in my life who actually have the ability to manipulate time, and they are waiters, yeah? You know about waiters? Yeah. So waiters, their job, of course, it exists in purgatory, huh? For it is to wait. It's okay, that one. But what will happen, you get bored in purgatory. So often they'll create action. That's when they come over to where you're sitting. And they'll say, now, do you know what you'd like to have? And I might have just got that I'll be sweaty or something. I say, I'm so sorry, I've not even read the food yet. And they go, well, that's okay. I'm going to give you a few more minutes. And I go, well, what gives you the authority? Where are you getting this surfeit of bonus minutes? I was late to be here. When do you propose I finish eating? 149 p.m.? That's fucking crazy, man. Can you actually come back? I want to read that name tag. Oh, Greenwich, yeah. Nice to meet you. I heard the rumours, but I didn't realise you'd be so mean. So some of it is just fun with words. But what I'll do, I'm going to change the topic now without even addressing it, because it feels like the right moment. And what I want to say at this point, and this isn't just from me, by the way, this is from mine as well. And it's not just for you, it's also for yours. And what I want to say, and I'm aware it's a bit late in the piece for it, but it's a massive Happy New Year. It really is, And I'm trying to run the table in 2024. I'm trying to get through to December because basically, here's what I think. I think you're allowed to wish someone a Happy New Year so long as you've not already seen the person that year. And to my credit, I've not seen a lot of you people in my life before. So it's a huge Happy New Year. And the reason I keep bringing it up is it helps me hold true to my resolutions because I've got 2 big resolutions this year. And the first resolution is... not to go on my phone while driving the car, which I've since found out is already a law. And the person who told me that, they were very sure of themselves. They were a police officer. By the way, if you are struggling with resolutions, tip from the top, just make a couple of them pre-existing laws. I mean, you can knock them out. You know, my North Star every year, don't do a murder. And come March, it's a lot of people not going to the gym. I guess he still hasn't killed anybody. You know. But what happened with the phone, is I was in the car and I got caught at a red light, okay? And I thought, well, doesn't this represent an unbelievable window of opportunity to partake in one of my favourite pastimes of being on phone? So I take out phone, and before I can even do anything, I see just in my peripheral vision, I see a police officer arrive at the lights right next to me. And I'm not one to panic, you know, I play it cool, subtle as you like. I just go like this. You know, 5-10 seconds pass and nothing's happened, and then all of a sudden the light goes green, and I think, holy moly, I got away with it. And as soon as I start accelerating, I get whoop whoop, you know, the sound and the light, which felt so condescending. I would have pulled over for either. And so I pull over. First thing I do, put the window down. I think I'm not going to give this guy the dignity of knocking on my window. No, sir. If they want to knock on my window, they're going to have to mime. And to their credit, unbelievable mime. And they say, now, do you know why I pulled you over? And I'm still feeling pretty coy at this point, so I say, no. And they say, well, you were on your phone while driving. And I go, are you sure? Me? And they sort of gesture towards the footwell. Go, yeah, I mean, I saw you throw it across the car. So obviously I didn't know you saw that. Yeah, you got me. And they start writing up a ticket. Yeah, and basically the energy is they're so bothered when they're writing up a ticket. You go, you know, I'm sick of writing these ones out. Okay, it's dangerous, it's stupid, and I know you think everyone does it, but they don't, and you don't do it anymore either. So just stop. And the scolding actually worked. I thought, do you know what? I don't do that anymore. So since then, I've not been on my phone while driving. But, you know, I understand the instinct. You know, of course I do. Like, if you're in your car on the way to work and you get caught at a red light, what are you going to do? Risk a thought? I'm not fulfilled by this. You know, you can't. So I don't know if you've been in your car at a red light and not gone on the phone, taking a look at what everyone else is doing. Does feel a lot like they're texting about you. Yeah. Check out the freak. You know, I just think the big problem for me is one of the main times I like to be on my phone is any time I'm not allowed to be on my... That's one of the main times I want to be on my phone. So even to come over here, you know, I had to catch a plane, and no one is really impressed by that anymore. But you got to remember how fast these things go, you know. And you got to have a very big net. And as soon as I got, you know, when you sit on a plane, one of the first things they do is they go, no phones. But they know that's hard for you because they give you a little screen to be in charge of instead, you know. And it's similar. It's not as good, but it's okay. So what I do, I figured it out. I use that little screen to catch up on all the latest blockbuster films. And so on the way over for this trip, I actually caught a film called 2001: A Space Odyssey. People like to laugh at that, but that's a new release for the plane. It's actually nice to watch it as Kubrick intended, you know? With a 20-minute nap before the third act. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a pretty immersive, serious bit of movie making. And I'm sort of 30, 40 minutes and I'm really in the world. And out of nowhere, all of a sudden, Australian border security start piping themselves into my headphones saying, hey, well, if you like film, do you know, we've also made a short film. And I think, I don't need to know about that. And we're going to play it for you right now. You know, no sense of decorum. Middle of the feature presentation, they show me their little art project. And basically, what they've made, it's a little horror film all about what they worry about. So in it, they go, hey, we are so pumped up you're coming to Australia, so long as you have not done anything in the last 2 weeks but sit in a sterile room drinking non-dairy yogurt, you know? You've not been for a walk in a pair of shoes, have you? How do they know? You know, and they've got pictures to go with everything that they're telling you about. At one point, they start talking about soil, and they show a set of golf clubs that are just caked in dirt. And like when I see that, I think I couldn't help but feel for someone's just had the worst day of their life. Okay, someone genuinely, basically on the brink, and they're trying to get this fucking set of clubs to the car without anyone seeing. And Border Patrol show up, being like, "That represents soil. We got to get that on camera," you know. This is a crisis. Anyway, so it goes to 3 to 4 minutes. Eventually it finishes, and I think finally I can go back to my feature presentation. But what I didn't realise is the stewards, they're in cahoots with border security. So basically, as soon as you think it's over, they come parading down the aisle, and they've printed out this little pop quiz. And basically, it's just a questionnaire about all the shit you just learned about. And you've got to borrow a pen from a stranger to answer all the questions, you know. And I'm going through my questions, and I think I'm going pretty good. I go, didn't do that, you know. And then all of a sudden, I get to stuff. They've got questions in here that weren't even covered in the course materials. Do you understand? And all of a sudden, I'm looking at a question that says, "Do you have tuberculosis?" Do I have tuberculosis? I mean, this has got to be the oldest disease, you know, on the planet. What are you asking me about tuberculosis? So now I'm sitting on an aeroplane trying to remember about tuberculosis, but I'm actually having quite a hard time because I'm running a bit of a fever, and I'm feeling quite fatigued. And so I think I actually don't need to get to this right now, so I'll put it to the side. I think I just finished my film, and that finishes at the same time as the plane lands. Very satisfying experience. And then before I can look it up, you know, the stewards come back on the comms, and the stewards, we must remember, they are in cahoots. And they say, "Hey, welcome to Australia. We are so excited you're in Australia. Now, so you know, it is actually a federal offence to go on your phone before you've cleared Australian customs." And I think that is a nasty little law. But, you know, I've been in trouble with the police. I don't want to cause any more fuss. So I think I can do that. So I'm walking through the airport, and I'm not on my phone. And I'm not on my phone. And I get all the way to the E gate. And E, of course, that stands for everyone. Yeah. So I'm at the everyone gate because everyone's got to use this gate. It's the same as email, you know, or e-cigarette. And I'm doing the questions at the everyone gate, and I'm copying my own homework. I'm creaming it. And then all of a sudden, again, I get to my problem question. Do you have tuberculosis? And I think, I do want to get this one right. So I look around, can't see anyone. I take out phone, and I go to punch in tuberculosis. But what I didn't see, there was a guy in uniform just outside of my peripheral vision. His name's like Cameron 9432, ridiculous surname. And he goes, "Hey, no phones!" You know what? I'm not one to panic. Subtle as you like. I just go. So to cut a long story short, basically, I made it into the country. I don't have my phone, and look, I'm coughing up quite a lot of blood. But so I'm here. I'm here for 10 days. It's a 10-day trip, and it's a lovely amount of time. The challenge with the 10-day trip for me is that's when I cross over from carry-on to check. I got it for 10 days. I got to check a bag because I want to have a second pair of shoes, and that's basically what you check the bag for. Shoes number 2. Yeah, I hate the way they treat us at the because I don't like to check a bag because to check a bag, first you got to have a bag. You got to have stuff to put in the bag, the innards of the bag. You got to assemble that yourself. Then you zip it up when you're happy, and you take it to the counter. And they're the doctor of the bag. They do its BMI, and they go, "You got a really healthy bag here." And I think that's been debunked. That doesn't account for muscle, but it doesn't, and they take it away and they go, "You don't have to worry about the bag anymore." But the whole way over, of course, I'm worried about the bag. Of course, I'm worried about the bag. I'm not even worried they're going to lose the bag. That would actually be a relief. I'd love to start again. What bothers me is when I arrive anywhere, the first thing a person with a watch and a sense of purpose has to do is wait for a shell with an extra pair of fucking shoes. I'm a very patient person, but I get properly frustrated at the carousel. I get so cross, and there's not a lot of people in the world who are left still getting cross. Most people get angry. It's just me and mums really who are still getting cross. And I get so cross, but I'm trying to, changed the way I think about it. And so now when I'm at the carousel, instead of getting frustrated, what I do is I sort of look at it as like a cast reunion for all the stars from the latest season of My Flight. I go, whoa, ho, ho! If it isn't the icons of NZ 124 Auckland to Melbourne, come on down. You've seen them sitting, watch them stand. There she is. That's the lady from 41K who didn't stop reading her book the whole time about a dragon that fucks a lady. Must be a good book, ma'am. There he is. It's the fella who reclined his seat all the way back on my knees, including through meal service. Whoa! He's looking well rested. And if it isn't the famous mother-daughter combo who got up and down to use the restroom 11 times on a 3.5 hour, and I know I shouldn't have counted, but, were they peeing? Were they pooing? The more I ask, the cagier they get. And sincerely, I know it's not my business, but what blew me away is, to my eyes, the daughter looked old enough to sit unattended while the mother. Because when I was a kid, I used to fly as unaccompanied minor. I don't know if you remember this, unaccompanied minor. So when your parents would get you to the airport, they think, I'm not even going to drop you off, Just let the winds of fate blow where they may. So in New Zealand, when I used to do it, they give you a red lanyard, and it would come around to a white laminate card, and in big block black letters there'd be a U standing for unaccompanied, and an M standing for Montgomery. But anyone else in the airport, of course, it would read as are you looking for a child without a parent or guardian? Because this guy's vulnerable. You think you want to keep these kids incognito. Anyway, I kept the lanyard, so when I talk to kids at the airport now, it doesn't look sinister. And I was looking up recently whether they're still doing unaccompanied minor. I went on all the Australasian airline websites, and it turns out they are. And it also turns out that they will define a child as anyone between the ages of 3 and 11. That's a child to them. So, you got to say, life comes at you fast when you are 12 now, One day you're an unaccompanied minor, the next you're paying for a full airfare, you're behind on rent, and if you get caught committing one felony on the plane, you're tried as an adult underneath Australian judicial law. I mean, it's fucking it's no wonder these kids are so jaded. Have you seen how they talk to the stewards? They go, hey, toots, give me a beer. Whoppa! And the other thing, then I was looking up 12-year-olds, and it turns out 12 years old, that's the cutoff for Generation Z. So if you go down, 11 and down, that's their Generation Alpha. And that's a generation, you look at that, those guys are fucked. But then you come along to Generation Z, and they're an interesting case study, I think, because I'm not especially old or bright. But, to my eyes, I think Generation Z, they're the first generation who from the outset, they always seem to have had a very genuine sense of their own values and their own worth. And then often in asserting their own values and their worth, they do have a bit of a tendency to overestimate both their own values and their own worth. I don't know if you've talked to one of these people before, but they'll be making a run of extraordinary points. I'll be thinking, yes, absolutely, and you got to shut the fuck up now, Now, it's like, yeah, we all drop the ball on climate change, but that doesn't mean you get to choose your own office hours. Hey, how much of this is righting historical wrongs and how much is being a lazy little shit? It's probably not fair. I think the real problem with that generation is they're too young, but what they'll outgrow. I just think across the board now everything's too reactionary, like everyone's upset at each other, and Gen Z, I think they're writing off anything that's traditional as being conservative or out of touch. I feel like marriage is out for them, and that's cool. If you don't want it, that's your prerogative, but you do lose something with marriage, which is weddings. And it can be fun to go to a wedding. I went to a wedding I had to go to a wedding earlier this. No, that's not true. I didn't have to go to a wedding. I could have had an argument. No, I got to go to it. It's a +1 wedding, if you're in a relationship, often it will turn out your partner's had this whole life before they met you, which feels unbearably selfish. But so they'll have friends who you've not met, who they love, and their friends love them so much. They'll say, hey, we're getting married and we want you to come and get this. +1. Don't even need a name. That's how much we love you. Anyone. And I'm Mr. +1, and it can be a social challenge being the +1. Because, you can feel isolated, but I do take solace knowing that while I'm at the wedding, struggling, that does mean there's a cousin somewhere who missed out on the cut. A week later, looking at the photos on social media, being like, who the fuck is this guy? And I'm giving it this a lot in the photo, I'm the cousin now bit, Because if you are at the +1 wedding, it does often feel like, all the way that other people talk about the newly, they're so dizzy and fizzy with excitement because they've been following the whole time. It feels like people talking about a TV show that they love that you're not familiar with, and they'll sort of pitch it to you. They'll be like, no, you'd love it. It's super original. It's really interesting. And you think, well, it feels a little derivative. We're at a wedding after all. But, the vows and the speeches and whatnot, that can serve as quite a powerful series recap. We're often by the end of the night, I'm thinking this is a very good series. It's a fantastic show. Matter of fact, wish I found out about the show a little sooner. Would have quite liked to try and have sex with some of the characters from this show. And the wedding that we went to, Chelsea's my partner, by the way. Love you, baby girl. She's not here, but, I do love her, baby girl. And the wedding we went to, so the table we got sat at the wedding, we were the only heterosexual couple at our table. So all the other couples were lesbian couples. And they were all okay with me sitting there. And nobody asked me, but I was absolutely fine with them being there as well. And nobody asked me, but I did a pretty good job of bringing it up every 20 minutes or so. I'm fine with this. That's what I'm saying. And so we're sitting there, and it's in between speeches, and everyone's kind of reflecting on the newlyweds and what makes their union so special. And then inevitably the conversation became more self-reflective because everyone is more interesting than someone else. And, it was genuinely remarkable to sit there and listen to all these different couples kind of, I suppose, bearing their relationship, talking about the secret sauce, the essence of what made their relationship tick. And I was genuinely blown away to just hear, there was this almost recurring motif, this running thread through all of their relationships where they credited the strength of their relationship to something that they were calling, and you're going to want to prick your ears up here, they were calling communication. Yeah, and people laugh at that, but it's not unlike what we're doing right now. Only I'd have to listen to you as well. And so they're talking about it, and at the start I was sort of going to Chelsea, we do a lot of this stuff. I was feeling pretty proud. I was going, we do a lot of this stuff. And then the more I heard, the more excited I was, sort of shaking it, being like, this is exactly like what we do. We do all of this stuff, And I was genuinely feeling pumped up because I realised at 35 years old, I'm finally in my first lesbian relationship, And the warning signs were there, of course they were. I do like to wear shorts with quite a lot of pockets, and a lot of our best friends are lesbians. And of course, I love pussy. Sounds like we've got some other pussy fans in. And I will say, it's a credit to Chelsea, I'd say, and how much my communication has matured in the 7 years we've been together. It's a real credit. Not just her, but also, I suppose, all the previous relationships I've grown, because all the previous relationships, though, they were heterosexual, okay? And inside of those, there was always one very strong communicator and someone letting the team down. And look, I'm not one to name names, but it was usually the guy. And I reflect on that, and I think, well, in a traditional heterosexual relationship, who do you think should have more say in sort of setting the communication agenda? Now, do you think it should be the person who withholds virtually everything that's happening for them until they're under an unbearable amount of emotional distress? Or could it be the person who can articulate very clearly what's happening for them in real time? So of the two groups, who do you think should have more of a say in setting the communication agenda? And look, I'm not a maniac. Okay, obviously, I'm not standing on stage tonight saying all men are abysmal communicators or all women are fantastic communicators. I'm certainly not on stage tonight saying all women love to talk. I mean, I would never be so reckless as to stand on this stage right now saying all women love to talk. It is simply not true. And I'll tell you how I found that out is one of them told me. Okay, and totally unprompted as well. But basically, what happened is I was at this table and I was telling all of these women how much they love to talk. And I'll tell you one thing I noticed they didn't like to do so much. Listen! Any time I took a pause in between my 30-minute monologues, they were jumping on those silences like cats on cream, rolling their eyes at Chelsea. A lot of sympathetic looks at Chelsea. I had to say, lesbians, my mouth is over here. But no, it is good to be part of a community. It really is. Because the main community I'm a part of otherwise is the comedy community, and it's not a bad community. It's becoming a bit more fractured, I think, because comedy's getting bigger. It's getting lumped in with other more traditional art forms, and people are asking more of artists in every medium now. It's not enough to enjoy the work. They want to know what the artist gets up to in their spare time. People are looking up their favourite artists through history to see what they were getting up to when they weren't making art, which, if you don't know, unbelievable way to ruin your relationship to your favourite artist. Because it turns out a lot of those people, when they weren't working, they were getting up to absolutely no good. And it leads to this, incredibly ubiquitous conversation that you all would have heard, you all would have had at some point now, which is, can you separate the art from the artist? You hear that a lot. Can you separate the art from the artist? Can you still listen to a Kanye West album? Can you still enjoy a Woody Allen film? And for me, the answer is always, that depends. Am I by myself? If I'm by myself, I think you'll find I'm fucking extraordinary at keeping this stuff separate. I'm introducing artists to their own work, being like, there's a bit of you, isn't it? And the thing is, I look at these guys and I think if they just spent a little more time working on the art and a little less time being anti-Semitic sex criminal, we wouldn't have to have the conversation. And by the way, if you're worried, to the best of my knowledge, as it stands, Kanye West is not a sex criminal, and Woody Allen is not an anti-Semite, okay? But what, everyone's got to be perfect now, okay? And the clues are always in the work. I don't know if you are familiar with Woody Allen's oeuvre, but all of his best films inevitably involve a version of Woody Allen having an inappropriate relationship with an underage woman. And then all of a sudden his personal life gets put under the microscope, starts generating a bit of heat, and he's got to pivot. All of a sudden he's making movies about tennis. And you think, Woody, no! You don't know about tennis? Yeah. And somehow the onus of responsibility is on us because they're all still available to watch. All I know is that if Netflix had a subgenre called critically acclaimed and credibly accused, a lot of the best stuff would be on there. I don't know what you're meant to do about it, And so long, by the way, everything I just said, alleged. You got to say that. But while we're here, I'll give you one piece of, and this is a lot more D-grade, but this is a little piece of celebrity gossip I've hoovered up over the course of my own life. And I know this to be true because I was there. And this is from when I was, I'd say, 13 years old. And so when I was 13 years old, I jerked off Guy Montgomery, and he kind of made it feel like I didn't have a choice. The stuff this guy used to make me do. When I was not a day over 16, he made me stick my finger up his ass. The guy's a crook. He once tried to make me suck his dick. Yeah. Didn't work out. Either my neck was too short or his penis was too little, but we gave it a go. Every angle, we were this short. And you can spread that, by the way. Every year I try and sell the story. No nibbles. By the way, I am aware that the self-suck material does tend to alienate the parents' friends portion of the audience. All I say to you is if you didn't like it, imagine how my mum felt when she saw it. She said, don't bother, Guy, you'll never reach. And bless her, as always, she was right. But the thing is, you got to have hobbies. And because I'm 35 years old now, okay? And I've made no secret of that. And if I have, the cat's out of the bag. And I feel as though I've got friends who've had the same hobby for so long. There's now an actual material benefit to it. They can make a pot, or they can stand on a wave, they can play an instrument. And whenever I see them in that relationship to the hobby, I always think I would give anything to know how to. I wish I knew how to do that, but evidently I don't, because I've taken no steps in my life to learn how to do any of that shit. I just think it's not fair in life that you really have to nurture and cultivate a hobby, and yet you can just, pick up an addiction. Whatever it is you're going to get addicted to. First time you try, you go, yep, it's that. Absolutely, it's that. I'm going to do that until everyone I love tells me I can't do that anymore. That's how good that is. Your aunt's not going to fly cross country to tell you to stop growing your own tomatoes. That is not how that works. The thing with an addiction is you're immediately good at it. I don't know what anyone's relationship in this room to cocaine is. I'm not pro or against, but some of you might not have tried it. You're worried you'll be bad at it. You would be blown away at your immediate aptitude for being on cocaine. It would knock your head off. And I've felt embarrassed and kind of listless, I think, when I've had spare time and I'm not working or I'm not with my family and I don't know how to use it in a fulfilling way. And what I've realized is I actually have had a hobby the whole time, but I've been in denial about it, because I've been in denial about who I am, because I think I want it to be interesting, but basically that's not the case. I'm very simple. I'm a very simple man, and I think that is why I've always enjoyed performing comedy in Australia, because it's something I share with all of the men in the room. And the hobby, it's just one word, it's sports. That is I like watching sports, I like playing sports. It's always been the case. When I was a little boy, I was naturally quite good at a few sports until about 11, when some of the other kids in my class started juicing. The teachers were calling it puberty, but I know what was going on. And then I kind of felt embarrassed and I fell out of love because I wasn't good in the way I once was. But that's the magic of a hobby, is it's not about being good. You do it for the pleasure of doing it. And that's the magic of being I love that I'm simple, and I love that I'm at peace with it. I think all men are simple. I think men are kind of simple in the same way that a dog is simple. Yeah? Because a dog. Dogs, yeah. So you see a dog who is sad, you can just give the dog a ball, and the dog will always go like this. So if you see a man who is sad, maybe you see two men, they look a bit sad, don't know how to talk to each other. You can just give them a ball. And you watch what happens. You go, there you go. And they go, So how you go? They're talking, but they don't even notice, because they just think they're playing with it. And the men love the ball. They love the ball so much. You can take the ball from them and you can give it to a group of people who are more coordinated with the ball. The men don't even think to get upset. They just go like this. I used to be pretty good with ball myself. Until I found my real passion for doing the accounts for a blind installation company. And they'll start outsourcing all of their real world problems onto the ball. They'll be going, yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I've been feeling pretty unfulfilled. It's because this assembly of 18 to 34-year-old men I've put all of my emotional health onto cannot string a season together. Yeah. You got it, brother. It's definitely that. It's none of the parts of your life you have agency over. It's got to be the mostly strangers. That's why gambling was invented, so men could enmesh their real world problems with the fantasy problems of their sports team. So if a man is upset after a game, they go, no, I'm not crying because my team lost. I'm crying because I fucked up my whole life. You go, respect, brother, masculinity intact. That's cool. That's actually cool, It's crazy. Imagine throwing your life away because you thought you could guess what's going to happen in a game of cricket. It is absolutely crazy the way people are behaving. And if you want to talk about charisma, which there's every chance you do, if you want to talk about raw charisma, how about the guy who got cricket off the ground, huh? That's charisma. Here's a guy who said, so I'm going to need 21 of you people in a full working week now. Well, is that how I figured out how it finishes? Not really, mate. Does someone definitely win or lose? It's not really about winning or losing. It's about getting away from your family. Yeah. And the thing about sports is, I understand not everyone loves them. There will be people in this room who don't like sports, and I empathise with the reason sports occupy so much space in society is it's just storytelling. It's the same as reading a book. It's the same as watching a show. You're just watching a story unfold in real time. But what makes this form of storytelling unique is there's not really any other forms of that where, when you're following the story, half the people following the story are rooting for one outcome, and the other half are rooting for a totally different outcome. You're not going to get that at the cinema. It would be very unusual to walk out of a Superman film and all the Lex Luthor fans are going ballistic at the concession stand. He lost again! Fuck! He cannot catch a break this season, And the people who are in charge of sports, they know who their target audience is. It's people like me, simple people, and they keep it simple. They separate the teams out, they give them different colours, so you know who's doing what, and you can put on the same colour as the ones you like. And you go, I'm like them, but you're not, but you feel like, and the other colour, even if you usually like that colour, you go, I don't even like that colour. That's an embarrassing colour, And they've figured out now you can even sell ad space on the colours so that people like me know what they're allowed to buy at the grocery store. You got to hold my hand through life, I go, Milo, I can have some of that. Gatorade, Power, it's all drinks really. But they're getting a little cocky. Sometimes they'll say you like insurance advice on the shorts, and I always think, it's a lovely thought, but I'm not going to take insurance advice from a guy who's had 19 concussions. And the thing is, I watch a lot of the sports. I like to go to especially the international games, and I figured out, how they choose the colours for the uniforms, They get them from the flags. I know, it's so simple when you find out. So, because you guys know, you know about your flag, You got to know about the flag, That's not just you. So, all the countries done got flags. Like 250 years ago, all the countries thought, we should get a little rectangle mocked up, show them what we're about. And it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because, design moves in cycles. And it seems to me the prevailing aesthetic when a lot of the flags got done was, well, in this part of the world, it was blue and stars. Because, there was a guy with a British accent telling us what to do. But in the rest of the world, the main look they went for in the flags, it was rectangles and block colours. Vertical, horizontal, thin, thick, mix and match, do what you want. And the designers were going crazy. They couldn't believe what they were getting away with. I mean, you tell me the guy headed Ireland and then immediately turned around and do Ivory Coast. That, what's the chance someone from here is going to go there? Fucking zero. This is the perfect crime. No idea how long the tail on that job would be. And so if you're at the stadium, right, they've got the colours on, they've got the flags flying. The other thing they'll do to really hammer home who's doing what before the game even starts is they get all the people in the same colours together and they sing a song. They just sing a little song. It's about where they come from, for context. Someone else wrote it for them. But what will happen is men who love sports, often they love their country a lot as well. And they'll start short-circuiting because of all the pomp and pageantry. They'll get confused. And they'll forget why they're at the stadium. They'll think they were there to watch the athletes they love sing, and so they'll start looking at who's singing. And if anyone isn't singing the song about where they come from, they'll get really cross, They'll lose their... And you got to remember, these are the same people who called anyone who sang anything at school gay. But now, singing is the single most important part of their, because what happens, basically, this is where men lose their minds, I think, is when you go to the stadium, there are other people like you, and you kind of lose perspective on what's happening. Because on the surface, if you're watching sports, you're watching the limits of the human body. You're watching athleticism. I love going to a sports game and seeing someone with a body do something and thinking, I've got a body as well. But it's a totally different thing, That's on the surface. But what actually decides the outcome of sports, that is just the interpretation and application of historic rules. That is really what decides the outcome of most sports. This is done by referees and umpires. You could argue they've got a really challenging... no one in the world really loves sports as much as they do, and yet no one is more reviled by their entire community for just punching into work than that. As soon as they go to their job, everyone's like, you're a fucking stupid it's crazy the way they're getting treated, And if a game doesn't go the way a man wants it to, okay? If a game doesn't go the way that they want it to, they can be not quite themselves. They can go for a day, go for a week, for a month, for a year. A man cannot emotionally be available to himself or anyone around him for 4 years in a World Cup cycle because he disagrees with the way that historic rules were interpreted and applied. That begs the question. do all men have autism? That's all I say. You go, all men have autism, all women have ADHD. Okay, that's why they're talking. You know, that's all. There's your diagnosis. No. It's unbelievably redundant of me. And of course, it's a bit lazy to do the broad brush. Men are like this, women are like that material. So that's why, as a palate cleanse, I've crafted this lovely little joke about the differences between boys and girls. Now, is it just me? Or have you noticed that at the airport, it doesn't even matter if you're wearing the same lanyard as them anymore. Neither boys nor girls will talk to you. I mean, what is going on out there? It's more about the similarities. But, you know, you catch my drift. So if I go to a game, if I'm at the stadium for a game, when everyone stands up for the songs, that's usually when I'll try to duck off to the urinal. That's when I want to hit the urinal, because I cannot be hitting the urinal at rush hour. Okay, I've been struggling at the urinal more generally, just in society. And I know I lose about half the room with the urinal specific stuff. But basically, I don't know if you find this, fella. Sometimes you go to the urinal, right, and they got the modesty partition, you know, nipple to knee. I get that. Sometimes you go, though, it's just full trough. And I cannot for the life of me figure out whether or not I'm meant to be checking out these other fellas' penises. You know, because if you hit the urinal at Russia, if you're at a stadium during Russia, and I know all the bathrooms get crowded, but the urinal's unique because there'll be a line snaking out the door, yeah? And you get a glimpse in, you can see the urinal, you just see it's shoulder to shoulder. It's men emptying themselves onto the same bit of metal. There'll be steam rising up from and you can feel your progress bar filling. You'll be thinking, I can't wait for my turn on the metal. And eventually, you get to the front, someone comes out, and you think, that's where I'm going. I'm going there. So you'll step in, you know, you prepare yourself. Too silly, that. You know, and I'll get there and I'll think, okay, and now to wee. And 5-10 seconds will pass and I'm still not weeing, and I'll be thinking, well, that's okay, guy. You know, just don't get in your head about it. You know, 15, 20, 25 seconds will go past, I'm still not weeing. And the guys next to me, by the way, they're weeing fantastic. We don't need to worry about these guys. They're having a really good... They're actually in full flight, okay? By 35, 40 seconds, I'm starting to worry that these guys are going to run out of wee before I got it. You know, because at 45 seconds, these are kind of my anchor points. These are my totems. If these guys pull out, you know, before I got it going, there's going to be 2 new entrants. If they catch a peripheral glimpse of my dry little flag blowing in the wind, that's a crisis situation, okay? So I got 2 new people in here now. It's been a minute. I'm still not cooking. They're in full flow. A minute 30, they're almost finished. Like, I cannot go through 2 full cycles of this. So basically, at a minute 30, I just think, zip it back up, wash my hands, just taking my penis out for a walk at the local urinal, you know. And they cannot get you for that. You are still allowed to do that, as far as I can tell. Because, you know, the thing, if you're a man and you are born into a man's body, that's a really straightforward setup. You got to love that. Everything's out. It's so easy. I mean, but your body can still, it'll turn on you. It can betray you in ways you wouldn't even think. Because I found out my body's betraying me another way. And I found this out. I found this out on youtube.com, the website. So you know that, tubeforyou.com, at last. And what I was watching, funnily enough, it was a video of me doing stand-up comedy. Not because I enjoy that kind of thing, but because I wanted to pull out a segment to feed the algorithm to remain relevant in the eyes of people I don't respect. And I don't really like watching myself, but I was watching it and I was thinking, I'm going okay here. You know, this is going okay. This is going well enough. I could scroll down to the comments, see what's cooking down there. You know, because everyone's got the keys on their board to write something nice. And I go down to the comments and sure, there's no one's written anything nice about the comedy. But to be fair, no one's written anything bad about the comedy either. Matter of fact, no one's writing virtually anything about the comedy. The main thing people are talking about down in the comments is, that guy's got a crazy hairline. That guy's going bald. You know, and I kind of already knew this, but it wasn't until I saw it written in italics by Bazooka Joe 442 that I actually let the information penetrate me, and I thought, I am going bald, even though I don't want to. You talk about unfair. But I've since found out no one in the world wants to go bald. Even the most confident, handsome, regular-shaped head bald man in your life didn't want to go bald. That happened too, and there's new strategies emerging as well. Like the modern bald man, often when it starts happening, they'll start going to the gym, they'll get strong. They go, no, I'm not bald, I'm just muscly. And it's like, kind of looks like the muscles push the hair up out of your head, bro. By all means. So I'm going what we'd call classically bald, okay? It's happening up the front first. We're going thin up there at pace. Around the back. Oh, you think I worry about around the back? We're looking lovely around. Okay, this is if you look up bald men through history, this is your friar look. You get a picture of this. In modern society, when a man starts going bald now, often they get the first sniff of it, they just shave the whole lid. And look, I understand what's happening there, I do. But I also look at that decision as an act of cowardice, because I think you're turning on what you have. If I see a bald man coming down the street, I think, okay, I can see what's happened there, got it. If I see a man with a full head of hair coming down the street, I think, whoa, lucky. That's not interesting. But if I see a man with a thinning head of hair coming down the street, I think, whoa, decision time, buddy, what's it gonna be? And for me, the decision, I'm just going to act like it's not happening. I make it everyone else's problem. I'm going up to my friends with a full head of hair being like, whoa, how lucky are we, huh? I don't know what I'd ever do if I was going bald, probably throw myself off a fucking bridge. And I hit the water fast too because of aerodynamics. And if they don't say anything, they're a bad friend. If they do say something, they're an arsehole. So it's actually nice to have the hairy people on the hop for a change. But I'm so humiliated at how often I think about like if I look in a mirror, the first thing I look for is how bald am I today? And I think the anxiety that we all have about how we look and stuff, that's unique to us as a species. No other species in the animal kingdom do. You got to put it down to the mirrors. And it's anxiety and variety. That's what we have. Because if you look at any other species in the animal kingdom, they all their body types always look virtually the same. They might have different markings, but they always look like they're capable of doing the same stuff. They look as coordinated as each other. If you look at a pod of killer whales, they might have different marks, but it would be very unusual to see one of them who's gone out, got themselves a big old pair of juicy fake tits. Yeah, it's a bad example. But you understand what I'm saying, yeah. And so every time I look at different species, I genuinely think that they can do the same shit as each other. And I was in a hotel, I was channel surfing, and there was a channel I found where there were dogs racing. And I know that is unethical, but the thing about these dogs is they'd already started the race. And so I'm watching it, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, I've seen greyhounds in the world before, and whenever I see a greyhound, I think, you look fast, you look fast, you look fast, yeah? So I think I know what's going to happen here. All these dogs are going to finish first equal. And I put quite a lot of money on it. So I watch it to the end of the race, and sure enough, it blew me away. All of the dogs finished running at slightly different times. And I thought, well, that must mean they're all running at slightly different speeds. And I thought, well, if that's true for dogs, this could be true for all animals. All the data we've collected on different species could be wrong. Like what if the one cheetah we ever monitored for speed was just a really fast cheetah, and then the whole species spend all their life training just to maintain the facade, setting unrealistic body expectations for other big cats. It's a slippery slope. And I will say, while we're on the thing about the race dogs, I know it's unethical, okay? And I know in Melbourne especially, you guys know it's unethical because everywhere you go, people have got to rescue greyhounds. And if you talk to them, they'll be quick to tell you. They go, well, the reason this dog looks a bit sad is it used to be a race dog. And I always think, yeah, sure, it doesn't look sad because it misses running as fast as it can some of the time. You sure that dog doesn't look sad because it misses helping out the economy? Are you sure that dog doesn't have anxiety because you introduced it to the concept of fashion? But, you can't talk to these people. And the thing about the dog, if you watch the dogs long enough, it's actually a gateway drug for the horses because after the dogs are done, then you get the horses come out and they're trotting around. And the thing I learned when I watched the horses, as it happens, more intelligent than dogs. Because the dogs, if you put a bit of meat on an engine, the dogs will just chase the food. They don't even think about it. But with the horses, if you leave the horses to their own devices, they don't do anything. That's why you got to put a jockey on the horse. Because the jockey will go, yeah, and the horse is like, damn, this guy's in a rush, But no one ever said it has to be jockeys. Could be anything. Here's what I'm thinking. So dog racing will become illegal. We know that. When that happens, how about this? You take the dogs here. Put them on the horses, and that frees the jockeys up to follow their dream of dominating children's sports. This is a cannot miss prospect. Hey? No, that cannot be the time. No, if that's the time, I've fucked this. Okay, so tell you guys about my second New Year's resolution. if you give me a fucking chance. And it's not a popular one, but I'm talking in elevators now. You're welcome. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of standing this close to someone else who's experiencing life and we're both acting like it's not happening. Have you made eye contact with someone in an elevator before? They go like this, as though it's too late. I know you got eyes. You're finished. So here's how I see it. If I'm in an elevator first, I am now the host of that elevator. Come on in. As soon as someone's in, I go, doors closed, bang, emergency button. Let's talk. It's easy with people by themselves. Harder when you get two people come. Often you get two people come in. They'll be talking. They don't even acknowledge you. They just push you right up against in your own elevator, no less. They'll be talking about something juicy. If I pipe in saying they should get divorced, all of a sudden, I'm being inappropriate. I mean, they're impossible. Only one worse than that. Sometimes you get two people come into an elevator. They're talking like. Ding! I'm left standing in my elevator. Are you motherfuckers talking about me? So now I'm up and down all day trying to get to the bottom. I've got security coming in. I go, you talking about me? They go, absolutely. Everyone is talking about you. You have got to get out of the elevator, okay? To their credit, I do. I go to a different elevator, okay, across town, different building entirely. I'm on the lobby, okay. I'm on the ground floor, holding the door open, waiting for something to happen. Someone comes in, fella. He looks familiar. I can't quite place him. He comes into the elevator, and I go, "Now, what floor are you going to?" And he says, "Oh, this is embarrassing." He's feeling for his card key. He goes, "This is embarrassing. I actually can't remember what floor I'm staying on." And I go, "Don't worry about it. There's no rush. I've got as long as you. I can give you a few more minutes." And he goes, "Well, what gives you the authority?" I'm like, "Oh, so have you not heard? I'm Guy Montgomery. I'm kind of running GMT now." And he goes, "Well, my name's Greenwich, surname Meantime, and so I got to murder this guy in cold blood, but you got to admit, 2 out of 3 resolutions this late in the piece. That's pretty good. Hey, thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And if you like this, wait till you see my big closer.